new unity forming around President Trump. Just days after the DNC comes to a close, a message from Democrat turned independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on Friday as he suspended his presidential campaign and aligned with President Trump.
My uncle made such an enduring mark on the character of our nation, not so much because of any particular policies that they promoted, but because they were able to inspire profound love for our country and to fortify our sense of ourselves as a national community held together by ideals. They were able to put their love into the intentions and hearts of ordinary Americans and to unify a national populist movement of Americans, blacks and whites, Hispanics, urban and rural Americans. They inspired affection and love and high hopes and a culture of kindness that continue to radiate among Americans from their memory. That's the spirit on which I ran my campaign and that I intend to bring into the campaign of President Trump.
And early voting is about to get underway in key battleground states with just 72 days away from Election Day now on November 5th. Democrats are coming off of a week of celebrating Vice President Kamala Harris with efforts to rebrand her away from her record at the White House as new economic and immigration data reveal the disastrous impact their policies have had on America and beyond. The Labor Department divulging this week that it overstated job growth under the Biden-Harris administration by 818,000 jobs for the 12 months ending this past March, the biggest revision since 2009. More downward revisions are coming. And since January 20th, 2021, the Biden-Harris administration has spent more than plans to raise the cap line.
We will end the era of inflation, mayhem, and misery under Kamala. And that's for everyone.
Security. I want to get to the Kamala.
From my standpoint, from
Swift's concert.
What came to so many ways that President Trump can utilize him. Any big thing that we need to tackle
wants to do in terms of
negative consequences
secure the border if elected, but a member of the Senate Judiciary and Budget Committees. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Your reaction to the agenda here and Kamala Harris's new promises of securing the border should she be elected?
Look, it's hard to lose 320,000 children. No with a degree of cynicism.
Solve murders and stuff.
Foreign Intelligence Service of the United States federal government tasked with gathering, processing, and analyzing national security information from around the world.
It makes sense. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all ever watch American Dad? Stan is the CIA.
That's a cartoon. Okay, Foreign Intelligence Service. Okay, that's a pretty big job there.
I said it's like FBI. I said it's like the FBI was like foreign affairs. I think they got like a lot of foreign affairs.
I mean, hey, you ain't got no good CIA leader.
I think those people that actually look for the terrorists first.
Yeah, that's what seems like that. Like it's having a lot of foreign business, and foreign business is big business.
So
big business.
On Snowfall, what was Teddy? CIA.
And that's why
start this campaign. I did not put in tens of millions of dollars to be a spoiler candidate. I put in tens of $1 million to win, to fix this country, to do the right thing. I will say that Clear Choice, this PAC, this DNC aligned PAC that was created specifically to take us out, has spent millions of dollars to take us out. They have unfortunately turned us into a spoiler.
Wow.
And we don't want to be a spoiler. We wanted to win. We wanted a fair shot. The DNC made that impossible for us. They have banned us, shadow banned us, kept us off stages, manipulated polls, used lawfare against us, sued us in every possible state. They've even planted insiders into our campaign to disrupt it and to create actual legal issues for us. I mean, the extent by which the sabotage they've unleashed upon us, it's mind-blowing. I mean, we're still learning new ways that they have sabotaged us. I really wanted a fair shot
It makes
at
sense.
this election,
Right.
and
Her voice
I
is so
believed
much
in the
better.
America that a little girl pledged an allegiance to, and that is not facts of my life.
When
They
we
playing bully ball.
You don't know what we doing.
the communist love. What changed?
Nigga,
That's
COVID-19. Nigga, everybody in the house.
Get your shot.
We at the baseball game.
What the hell y'all talking about?
All the shit they didn't need.
Hell y'all talking about? God damn it, get your toenails cool.
I couldn't believe that guy was at the baseball. Okay.
All right, let's stop that. I don't like it when people use GD just because I'm a little older. This that was Michelle Shanahan, and she's obviously very intelligent. She's got a great voice, but then she goes down into that Valley Girl or whatever it is with the low. It just sounds terrible. But I guess when you go to at schools, you learn how to go down in your voice. Anyway, Alcaraz, Schmalcaraz. Alcaraz, Schmalcaraz. I didn't print I tried to. I can't find out how to do it. I think this U.S. Open could be tricky for a lot of people. But if Djokovic is not seriously injured, which he looks like he might have injured himself, I think he'll win it all. He hasn't won a major yet this year. He made the semifinals in one major, the finals in another, and I forget. Oh, and then in the French, he got injured. He had to withdraw. So I think he's motivated to win. He's got 2,000 points on the line. I don't think it'll be Alcaraz. Alcaraz has to play potentially Medvedev. He's got a pretty easy draw though, Alcaraz. Djokovic's draw is not that easy in my opinion. He's got Ben Shelton in there, and he's got the Czech. I can't remember. It begins with an L, and then he's got this Australian Popian. Anyway, it's not easy for Djokovic. But then I think Sinner can beat Alcaraz too. I don't know. I don't think Alcaraz is going to win it. And I just can't stand how he becomes everyone's favorite just because he's not Djokovic. I know he's a good kid. I just can't join the bandwagon. Well, he's going to come on at 1 o'clock. He's taking a bunch of stuff to the trash. Let's see if there's any headlines. Obviously, Robert Kennedy joined the Trump campaign in many ways. I guess he didn't fully withdraw from his own campaign. But I think that might change things a little bit. To my opinion, though, there's already information that Kamala Harris is closing the gap in Texas and winning in the other states. So I think they have to propagandize that she's fantastic, so that when they Cheadle, what was the FBI, the head of Secret Service's name? Kimberly Cheadle. When they Kimberly Cheadle the results, they'll have cover. It's frightening. I mean, even if you don't like Trump and you hate him, you've got to worry what's happening with our democratic system. You really do. Because first you'll go after Trump, and then the next time they'll come after you. And if you're male, you're not safe if you're a straight male. I don't care what color you are. if it goes completely wacko. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. We are not there yet. And what I loved hearing about Robert Kennedy and Michelle Shanahan, that's not it, Nicole Shanahan, is they got 1 million people to sign. It's just like your campaign with MMTLP. They got 1 million signatures, just all grassroots. So it really gives me a sense of hope about American democracy. There's enough of us old enough that did not get indoctrinated by the current school system that white straight males are the problem. Somehow white women cut in front of the line of victimhood. I don't get how that is. I really don't get how that is, but whatever. Everybody lives in their own truths. I'm living, it's my lived truth. Whatever the heck that means. All right. I just brought up MMTLP, and let's just see if they made any filings while I was away. Of course, we're talking about NextBridge. If you still own MMTLP, you are taking a huge risk. In my opinion. Okay, August 14. Did we already go over that? They had their quarterly report. I think we already went over that. Yeah, I think we did. So that's not that new. But anyway, while I was out in Denver, I met my very good friend, the head of investment banking at Roth Capital. And I asked him, I mean, I'm not going to give away anything super secret or privileged, but on the idea of whether the Oro Grande is real, I just asked him, do you think it's real? And he said, yeah, he thinks it's real. We talked about it a little bit more than that, but that's all I want to say, because that's a vague comment, and it's something that's confirmed by press releases and other information that's out in the public. We did talk a little bit. I did ask him about the idea that if Roth Capital were to do a financing, in would come one of these fronts representing the shorts. And he acknowledged that there might be a little of that, but he really doesn't think it's there that much. And it just goes to show you that people on Wall Street are mostly honest, and they don't really get what's going on. We didn't talk about whether Roth is going to do a deal or whether Roth, what price. But I personally think for NextBridge, with the, what was this? This is the second quarter's filing, quarterly report for the quarter ended June. So then you've got July, August, September, which we're in. So the company is now ready to do a financing, in my judgment. Now they could raise money with so-called whales or just in and amongst themselves, but I think they're going to use Roth Capital. We'll find out. And I think we're going to be disappointed in the price. I hope it's in the 20s, but some of you might be disappointed with that. But my guess is it could be below $10, which is frustrating. And then the lawyers, the criminals, will use that number for settlement discussions. So I really, again, really strongly urge you to move MMTLP while you can into Nextbridge, because the attorneys for the bad guys are going to use everything they can. They're arguing in court, apparently, that you knew when you bought MMTLP it was worthless because par value was 0.01. Well, every offering says par value. Everything is shares par value 0.01. But they're liars. They're paid to lie. They have no integrity. Lawyers do not have integrity when they work for the bad guys. And they're working for the bad guys. It's all about winning. It's not about facts. So, and then our lawyers, if we have any, will treat the other lawyers as gentlemen and gentlewomen because they're all officers of the court, but the others are manipulating the truth. So get out of MMTLP, get into Nextbridge. If this offering, let's pick a number to scare you. If somehow they're able to do it in the single digit numbers, that becomes a point off which to so-called settle MMTLP. And they'll argue at a discount to whatever that number is. But if MMTLP raises, let's pick a number. To my memory, they were, this is all to my memory. I think it was filed for 40 million. Let's just say they raised $40 million. I don't know. $40 million, they can drill 5 wells to hold their acreage, drill and complete 5 new wells by the end of the year. They can add new acreage should they deem it important, and then they can re-up their acreage they currently have, which expires at the end of the year, but they have a right to extend, which will probably be $3 to $5 million. I don't know how much it would be to get extra acreage. And then to drill the wells, I have no idea. I have to admit I'm clueless. But if 5 wells cost $6 million each, which could be, I could be using a number that's really high, there's their money. You know, and what's in it for you though is they've drilled either 15 or 20 wells. They've discovered reservoirs, and they've increased their ownership from 75% to 100%. They're for the last, I don't know, is it 2.5 years? They've just been working so hard to get this drilled up. They've got the seismic, they've got the original studies. Everything looks like they have a meaningful field. And when I was observing and then speaking with people in the Permian Basin, a lot of the Permian Basin, that Exxon deal, one of the best deals, one guy told me, made when Exxon bought Pioneer. Well, those deals are disappearing, and it's pretty much filled out. So where do they go? Possibly they go to the Oro Grande. And we've got 15 or 20, I don't know. And then we've got the shallow Johnson. If we add 5 more wells, we get closer and closer to the point at which the leaseholders decide, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and start producing. We already own all the acreage we want. We renewed the acreage. Let's turn on, see if we can start producing and start monetizing this. Remember, that causes a tax consequence, but cash flow is king in oil and gas. And if the Oro Grande starts cash flowing, you could set off a miniature land grab. And I don't know what their acreage renews at. The number that sticks in my head is $35 per acre. But acreage in the Permian can go for $15,000, $20,000 an acre. So I think even if there's a low priced offering from your perspective, the lawyers are going to use the bad guys lawyers are going to use that to so-called settle MMTLP. But if you're over in Nexbridge, you're going to get all those benefits and you'll see it if it works. I mean, it's oil and gas, anything can happen. But you'll see what happens to valuations if it starts working. It's simple arithmetic. 5 reservoirs producing. We know the volumetrics. We've got the report from whomever, maybe Netherlands. And analysts come in, they just do some arithmetic, and all of a sudden, you got a kicking butt story. You do. All right, that's Nexbridge. I know most of you don't care about Nexbridge. And we'll talk about the stock you want to know about, but I think he's going to be a little bit dismissive of it in terms of trying to trade it, because it went to 12, I think, and then now it's at 6, and it'll, it's just risky. The easy profit is the quickest profit, but we'll let him talk about that to you. Yeah, I got to go to church. I got to start doing that. It's hard to. Yeah. Well, good. Good luck at church. Hey, Ambi, what a cutie pie. Those are nice little dogs. Good morning. Let's see what time. We got 8 minutes. I guess I would tell you that my overall observation is I've told you, just my opinion based on listening to a lot. Okay, he's calling in.
Oh, from Andy.
He's calling in, so you don't have to listen to me anymore. Hello?
Here you are.
All right. Just don't talk about what you did last night. You're live.
I was in somewhere near Jersey City. I posted a picture in New York City from the New Jersey side. It was beautiful, but I posted it last night. I was out drowning my sorrows for my football team. Let's not talk about that. Terrible, terrible start of the year.
What happened with your football team? Oh, I might have cut him off.
Oh, from Andy.
Hang on. I was trying to turn up the volume. I think I disconnected you.
That you did.
All right. All right, you're there.
All right, it's Sunday afternoon. I'm sorry. I have a dinner tonight with my family, so people keep texting me, reaching out on Twitter, have a call. Again, I wake up in the morning with a clear head, and I just start recapping the same stuff so you understand it. Number one, my wife's good friend who I put into GDC, who doesn't have a lot of money, she bought 3,000 at $1.50. I forgot to tell her to sell it. And I just felt awful last night when my wife asked me if I told her to sell it, and I forgot. And now it's on my back. And it would have changed her life in a big way if she would have sold that at 11. Think about that. She would have made $30,000 from a $30,000 investment, $4,000 investment. So I believe that she's going to get another shot at the apple here. I'm not telling you to buy it, but the stock looks like it just wants to keep trading high after the attacks. I just think that. So I have to get her out, and I got a lot of good people on these calls out, but I forgot my wife's friend, and now I got to sleep with one eye open before she kills me. But again, my friends are still there. A lot of my friends are selling, and they're bringing the money to Finger Motion. Why are they coming to Finger Motion? Not that I'm telling them hurry up and go buy Finger Motion. They've asked questions about it. They've been on these calls. There's a lot of brokers, there's a lot of hedge fund guys that are starting to listen and pay attention. This is not something that just throwing a dart at. You know, I had people call me up, oh, you got to buy HOLO, you got to buy this one or that one, this one. I don't know anything about any of those companies. I know zero about them. If you want to go around throwing darts and chasing things, you're going to get eaten alive by these criminals. All right, because they're shorting into these things. There's no information about these things, zero. All right, so just be careful if you're going to run around the board. I stick and studied Finger Motion. I stayed with it and I studied it. William was nice enough to come on board along with other people, and we follow things all the way through. You know, I look at GameStop with your friend, everyone who was in Roaring Kitty. Where did he go? What happened to him? I mean, it's just the most ridiculous thing in the world that anybody would follow someone that has no idea what he's talking about. And he's, you know, I believe in stocks. I defend them. Good, bad, or indifference, I'm not going away. I believe what's going on, and I stay with it. That guy has put people into stock and just basically disappeared. And don't get me wrong, I don't think he knows anything. That's the problem. He's just he got lucky the first time. He bought the stock based on the stores, and you know it just took off. And I did full reports on it about the naked short. It's a little different than he was saying. I didn't give a shit about the stores. I used to play games. I don't do it anymore. I do still play a football game. But again, to me, the stores didn't make a difference. It was the short position and how massive it was. And that's what I studied, and that's why we're here with Finger Motion, is because we studied it. The shorts were nice enough to trap themselves, and they all thought we were going to give up. Just like everyone else does, they give up and walk away from the stocks. We're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So very different from these other people that are in these stocks. They stop providing information, and they leave everybody hanging. We do it. I do calls 3 times a day. I post 40,000 times a day. But William, I'm just going to start with a recap. You okay with that?
I'm fine. You got the floor. I'm like Trump. I'll step aside for you, who is RFK.
Okay. I wish I had his voice. What is he? Glass in the morning, that guy?
I wish you probably wish you looked like he's 70 years old. He'd probably kick your ass at pickleball.
He's in unbelievable shape. I'm an athlete. I'm not a bodybuilder.
No, I know.
I have a different. You know, I've been playing pickleball now, and I've been playing. William, I changed it up from besides putting a hole in everybody every day. Now I'm using my brain, just playing their game a little bit. I don't. Whoever I play with, I don't lose. I mean, it's remarkable that I just keep winning. I played with a guy today who stood in front of my backhand shot, and he had no choice but to block it because I was taking his head off. I hit it so hard. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that right now, although I'm happy with it. Let's talk about number one. The number one thing you must do is put a good till cancel order in. That's a GTC. Good till cancel. What that does is you put an order out. I just had my wife friend put 3,000 GDC out at good till cancel at $15 for tomorrow. That doesn't mean it's going there, which I hope it does. But if it does go and it gaps, she will make the sale. The other day, someone we all know had put out GDC. It sold it at 11.5. The only reason they sold it is because they had an order out there. It was going so fast, you can't even put the order in. When you see it go up, it's already started to go down. So as it's trading up to 12, it's already turning and going back down. That's how fast it is. But it can't go past your offer at 11.5 and trade at 12. You have to make a sale at 11.5 for good till cancel. So that's the only way you can make a sale. You can always change it. I thought about telling my wife's friend to sell 1,000 at 12, 1,000 at 14, 1,000 at 16. We'll give her a 14 average then. But I said, you know what, just throw it all out there at that number 15, where I said 15 or 16, and just leave it there. And, God willing, you get your sale and you're okay. So using a good till cancel. Everyone in finger motion put a good till cancel in. I don't care, you pick the price. Space it out. You don't have to put it all out there. If you own 1,000 shares, maybe you sell 500 at 12 and hold on to 500. Because I really do think it's getting very close to exploding on finger motion. All right, there's a lot of catalysts coming our way. The number one catalyst is, to me, is people that have made money in GDC are selling, making a lot of money, and are coming our way. And as you can see, they're starting to come our way. These are real buyers coming into the stock. As they sell it, they're coming our way. How do I know they're coming our way? Because they call me up and they tell me they're coming our way. A friend of mine made $10,000 the other day. I posted it. He called me up. He said, I'm buying 5,000 at 230. Boom, he just bought it. And now he said he has 5,000 shares for free from GDC. He used the profit to buy 5,000 finger motion for free. And that's what people are doing. There's always risk in the market. But if you can make profit in something else to support your other positions, that's how you do it. William always says that. Don't be afraid to trade other things to make money and support your other positions. That's how it works. There's no one on this call that buys 4 stocks and they all go up at the same time. It doesn't happen like that. One goes up, one goes sideways, one goes down, one does nothing. They all move at different times. Right? If you go 4 for 4, kick your ass, because that's unbelievable when you do that. All right. So again, we never know where they're going to go. But let's talk about the catalyst. Number one, use the GTC order.
So right now, just for Fisherman 8, Ham right now is talking about finger. All right.
Finger. I'm talking about finger motion. GDC is that's a professional game now. That's you're on your own. Good luck with that. It can go up. It can go to 50. It can go to 100. It goes down all over the place. I can't report on that. This is professional trading. I can do it for myself. I can't advise everybody else how to do it. It's too fast, and you'll get chopped apart if you don't know what you're doing. If you buy it at 7, it'll drop to 5. You'll panic out. You'll turn around and run to 8. You'll buy it back at 8. It'll drop it to 6, and then before you know it, it'll be 50. I mean, it's very difficult to do, and I don't want to be responsible for that. You want to go play at the casino? Good luck. The easy money has been made. The easy money is what? Buying a stock when it's not doing anything. That's what I believe. So if you don't like what I like finger motion. It's been doing nothing. It's been drifting down due to the attack. The company was listing, ringing the bell. The stock was $4 on April 28th. Excuse me, they just beat it down to $1.70 for no reason. And the company's announcing business. And they just keep knocking it down. All right. I kept saying it. The company's worth more, and they just keep marking it down. All they're trying to do is get people to sell. Well, that's a stock doing nothing. Going sideways, it starts to move up. Volume is coming into it now. The short sellers thought that we were giving up on it. And I've always said we're not giving up. The short sellers thought we didn't have a source of funds. Well, by luck, all right, we had GDC take off, and now we are, a big source of funds. I told you I had one guy bought, 100,000 shares of GDC, I think $1.50 or $1.75, and he sold it north of 8.
That's a nice trade.
That's an unbelievable trade. $150,000. He made almost $900,000. That is a life-changing situation. And he's putting his money, he told me, he's putting it into finger motion. I just gave you many people that have, called me up, thanked me, and bought it, sold it, made profit. I had one guy, he went 8 for 9 in trading in GDC. And he's thanking me that he's learning how to trade. And the one thing, again, this is not investment advice, I'm telling you, everyone on this call should make everyone they know, your children, 18-year-old kids in college, buy one share, just for the education that when it does squeeze, they can learn how to trade a short squeeze stock. Many people that bought GDC who all been looking for a short squeeze, right? We've all been waiting for FNGR. Well, you got it in GDC. It didn't go to 200, but it's short teaching you how volatile it gets, right? And the only way to really feel about it is imagine being a high school kid. They bought the one share at $2, sold it at 9, watched it go to 12, drop back down to 5.5 or 4. They buy one share back. It runs back up. They sell it at 8. Instead of paper trading, actually have that one share to play with and get a good feeling about it. That's better than going to Harvard Business School doing that, because you're getting to do it in real time with $2. What is it? $2.30 or $2.50 now. You get real life experience in the stock market, seeing how wild it is, swing it up, swing it down, and you know what? It just teaches you. If you do it on paper trading, it's great, but you know what? When you did it and you say, wow, I put up $2, I made $9 on the one trade. And pull back, I did it again, I made $3. And then they can get the feeling, if they start doing it with 1,000 shares, what can potentially happen for them. That's how you learn. Doing it any other way is not really learning. All right? That's the way to do it. Again, it's up to you. One share, I know you have to spend $2. I got it, $2.50. But that's how you learn. All right? Not everybody comes in and says, I'm going to go buy 1 million shares. You start with one. If you're a young person, go take a shot. Understand it. If you know anything about it, you're a housewife, you're a graduate, anything. Learn about it. That's how you learn. All right? I do think that there's big buyers coming into FNGR. I think people are starting to realize now that we are educating you on the short selling, naked short selling, and the patterns and what we can see. People ask me about the 230 million. We've been reporting it, and you always tell about that time when this naked short exploded. Remember?
Yeah, I forgot what the name of that website is. Idiot of me, but I took a picture of it over those days. In 10 days, sort of 2 Novembers ago / December, whenever they attacked it, they sold approximately 100 million shares in 10 trading days. Might have been 95 million, but something like that. They sold in 10 trading days under the exemption of Reg Show.
I remember we exploded over. I was reporting. I still remember when we popped over to 103 million.
Yeah.
And time has gone on, and we've had huge days. And people could say, "Oh, you guys are full of shit. It's not 230 million." I got it. You don't have to believe what we're writing. Okay, I don't believe. You can say whatever you want. 230 million. You don't want to know something? I'm going to make it easy for you. Cut it in half. Make it 115 million. If you still don't believe it, cut it in half again. Make it 50 million. Let's go down to 50 million shares. How are they going to cover 50 million shares? I know how they're going to cover it. It's going to be north of $50 a share. Easy. That's 50 million shares. Make it 25 million. You're going to be up at $50. That's how big this is. This is a life-changing event created by crooks. And we have to thank the SEC for allowing it to happen. All right? We were smart enough to study it, get the information on it, educate. If we were making up nonsense, William, don't you think the SEC would have said something about the truck outside with the numbers on it?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think they would have come out and said, "Are you guys fucking crazy? Where'd you get 230 million shares from?" We did it 16 times in the lobby of the SEC. At the SEC enforcement conference, we had flyers put on everyone's desk with a what do you call a barcode, and you can scan it with your phone, and it gave everyone all the data on finger motion. We put that inside the investment conference before they got there. There were people there at 7 o'clock in the morning putting it on everyone's desk and on the dais. How's that one? They never said boo about it. So the information has been seen. We've shown it to the SEC, and no one said anything about it. show us the proof it's not 230 million. If it's not 230 million, show us the proof that it's not 230 million. That's all I ask. Right? Transparency, right? Wait, that's what they would.
Well, I agree with that 100%. If FINRA can report the trades that are entered, failure to borrow, failure to locate, failure to own under the reg show exemption, why can't they post if and when those trades are covered? They can do that. They don't. They want to leave it opaque. They don't want us to know. Should be full disclosure. They'd get rid of a CEO if he didn't disclose how many times he washed his hands after he went to the restroom. And these guys, they can do anything and they don't have to disclose.
Well, the one good thing about this, everyone, is this number we talk about. We study the stock every day. I can see the prints. They're not covering. They don't cover it all. They don't cover anything. So we've been following the real short, which was over 2 million shares, and I've been documenting the real short for a year. His average was around $3, wherever it is. Now, there's a cost incurred to carrying a short position. Everyone knows you have to pay a fee to borrow shares legitimately. So over this time, I calculated it's about at least 30 cents, maybe a little bit more, maybe 40. So $3 minus 35 cents, we're at 265. That's the most they can make. It's $2.65 on that 1.4 million shares that is short. The most they can lose is infinite. The most they can make, the company goes to zero, is $2.45. Excuse me, $2.65. And each day that goes by, they have to keep paying that fee. The business opens up, the lights go on, the electricity, everything keeps going. And they have to pay that bill. So we have someone who's short, and the only reason they're short, the borrowed shares, this is the real short, is because they're tied to the naked short. Someone's telling them what to do. It's orchestrated. And that person, I have to believe, is someone that's close to the naked short. If the naked short is Lynn Partners and their friends, then the real short is someone that's tied to Lynn Partners. I always told you, it's his mother, his cousin, and brother, somebody. Because there's no one in there right now.
Or it's the Anson funds,
Or the Anson fund.
It's somebody, yeah.
Whoever's doing this trade, people, okay, I just described the risk and the reward. And the cost that keeps going, every day this cost goes on. This is by far the stupidest trade I've ever seen in my life. The most you can make is like $2.65, and that goes down every day. For all I know, it's $2.60 now. So this short is basically break even now, and they haven't bought back a share. That is, my friends, a stupid trade. Now that short number was over 2 million, but it keeps dropping lower because the naked short is selling it to the real short. So the real short has been showing the signs of panic already. They did not want the naked short to sell 1.4 million in one trade because that could be easily followed. So I've been reporting the washed trades where the naked short sells it to the real short. The real short position goes down because he's buying, and the naked short position goes up. That's what they've been doing, and they've been doing it every day. So I've been documenting, putting it up, and tomorrow we get to see that number. I'm curious where it's going to be. It could be down to 1 million shares because we caught a couple of nice big days where they were really washing trades. They don't do it all at the same time. They do 5,000, 3,000. Before you know it, it's 50 or 60,000 in a day. And that's what they've been doing. Because if a short was covering, the stock would go up. But all those days that number went from 2.2 million to 1.4, the stock has gone down. And they want you to believe that the short is covering, and it's the stock, there's so many sellers that the stock can't go up. That's That's what they're trying to do. People, the stock market is just a head game. These guys do every trick to get in your head to get you to sell. That's it. That's all they're trying to do. And you know what? They work hard at it. They got people bashing it. They got stories. You name it, you get it. And it's all slanted because the SEC allows these guys to sell stock without borrowing it. Because if this was just that 1.4 million shares short, they would get run over in a minute. So there's somebody else who's been holding it down. That's the naked short. Does anyone have any questions on that, William?
Well, in general, what to watch for and identify when a stock turns to the upside?
Yeah, go back and look at Friday's trading. Go back and look at what happened on Friday. There's your identification.
Okay.
It was right there. You watched it. It turned, and you saw the buyers come in, and you saw the sellers doing they were running backwards, trying to not make more sales. It's so funny. They were willing to sell it at $1.70 the other day. Now, as they're starting to running, they're moving backwards pretty quick. All right. Remember, 260. What could be the first trigger to make this go? 260. The real short is now officially underwater. I just reported on those numbers. Once it goes over his course, which is $1, which is, I believe, is 260, 265, 270 area. Once it goes above that, they are a loser on 1.4 million. Now, I don't know about you. When you start losing in a stock trade, a lot of people just bail and sell it. When a short start losing, they turn around and they buy it. Say, hey, let's live another day. Let's buy it back, right? Let's buy it back here. And if it goes to 15 to 20, we can re-short it again because we hate this company. That's normal trading. But when this triggers, the 1.4 million starts buying, he could trigger the naked short. And that's where the avalanche is. Right? That's what the naked short is shitting their pants that his partner in crime, 1.4 million, wants to get flat. And that's what's panicking him. Imagine trying to get flat, and all of a sudden the 1.4 million comes to buy because they have to cover, and there's real buyers pushing it now. It could be 5 million shares running at him to buy. The naked short just going to get run over. He gets the margin call, and then that GDC type moment begins. And I'm glad everyone got a chance to see a stock squeeze up to 12. I know you all wanted it to go to 100. I don't control it. You know the numbers. You can see the volume. You can see the manipulation. Finger motions can be a lot different than GDC. I think GDC has multiple naked short sellers. Finger motion, we have two. The real short and the naked short. And they're both the same person. And once they both fold, it's going to be running with the bulls. And I met with a group of people, and they all want to do one thing on Wall Street. The best trade on the street is called front running. What does that mean? That means you get in front of the buyer and you go buy it. The shorts do it. I posted a story about Andrew Left and his disruption in BIDZ. It's on Twitter. There was 7.2 million naked shorted shares the day before his report. The next day the report came out, the stock went from 25, I think it went down to 10. So when Andrew Left goes in front of the jury, I copied the DOJ on it. All his stocks have that same pattern. I can guarantee you the fails to deliver were going up. When the fake story was coming out, they do it right. They sell into it, and the next day the story comes out, they try to time it. Right? Because they need to push it down fast. And if anyone did any work on that, they would find them all. They can find everyone that's a criminal. If they just go look at that chart, I put it up before. Have you seen it, William?
No, not what you put up.
It's so interesting. Hold on 1 second. Let me just throw it up there again for everyone to see. It'll take me 1 second. Relax, William. I just put, look at this chart, and I'll put it up right now. Give me 1 second. Here you go. Everyone, if you go to Twitter, you can see it right now. Wait, maybe you want to put it up on your thing.
When I get my new used computer, I'll be able to do that.
Okay. But look at this chart. You can see that 7.8 million. They had settlement failures of 7.2 million right near the top. And then Citron's report was posted. This is going back to 2007. Andrew Left has been destroying companies for a long time, and he's a pretty shitty trader. If he's only accused of $20 million or whatever he has in the bank, he should be worth $1 billion based on the destruction he's caused. You can see it. You can see the fails to deliver spiking, and then the stock collapsing down 50% on Andrew Left's report. How's that? Right there. And that's from Patrick Byrne. Everyone, Patrick Byrne has said that he's going to offer the job in the administration if Trump wins. He's a libertarian, never voted for Trump, but he does one thing. He hates naked shorts. These are reports that he's done, wasted his time on. He had a network of people that were Wall Street Journal reporters, very good writers, very good economists, and they all knew how to do this stuff. And this is one of Patrick Burke's many Picassos on naked short selling. So that is going to be our leader in 54 days. After tomorrow, it's 53. By the end of this week, we're below 50. How's that one? I started north of 90, counting down. Now we have so many people on our side between Devin Nunes, RK, Donald Trump, Patrick Byrne, Elon Musk. It's just enormous dance. Everybody's after helping the little person. Trump said the other day, it's time for the financial institutions who've been robbing us, to start getting in line. He's not going to let them go. Pat Byrne, 100% will help us out. And people, I will get it to Patrick Byrne. Not all the stocks. I'm getting finger motion to Patrick Byrne. I have it all documented. We know who the short is. Just remember, imagine going into Jeff Easton's office of Lynn Partners, and the first thing he says to a CEO is, I'm not shorting your stock. Everyone on the street, I don't know Jeff Easton from a hole in the wall. I never raised money through him. I never did any of that stuff. Every time I speak to people on the street about him, they all say the same thing. He's a scumbag. Me and William bumped into a guy we don't even know. What did he tell us about him?
Said he had a drink with him, and that's the word he used, scumbag. That he's a sleazeball. Maybe that was the word he used.
I can only say everybody says the same thing. It's just amazing. And I met a young kid that worked for a guy who does funding, and they all said the same thing. Oh, Lynn Partners, totally, all they do is short. They're terrible. Anytime they're involved in everything, everyone stays away from them. And that's what these guys do. I mean, it's just notorious. They're up 220%. Everyone else is wiped out. That's how they set it up. The CEOs need the money, and they just, they all go for the same trap. Because their lawyers tell them, hey, if you don't raise the money tomorrow, we have to put out a going concern. That's what the lawyers tell CEOs. The CEOs all wet their pants, take the money, and they don't care. And they go out there. The sad thing is the CEOs take the money, tell all their friends how wonderful everything is, and then murder all their friends. And I always told you guys, you're all going to get wiped out in the one company when your neighbor, your friends develop something, goes public, and you believe it, but you're going to tell your wife, oh, Dan down the block. And you're going to believe in Dan, and Dan's a good guy, and he's going to fall for that same trap, and you're all going to get crushed because of naked shorts. And you're not going to get crushed where you're going to lose a little money. You're going to get crushed because you really believe what's going on. You know the CEO. That's the worst damage. And that's what's going on in KNW. It happened in CELU. It happened in MULN. You name it. All these people believed in these things. They got murdered. Anyway, let's get back to finger motion now that I battled. Finger motion. I expect the dividend to be coming out shortly. It can't go much longer. If the SEC was going to block it, they would have shut it down a while ago. I spoke with an attorney that is familiar with the SEC on these type of events. He said that it's got to come shortly. He said you'll get it done by the first week in September. So we're in the last week in August. So we'll be talking another 6-7 days tops. We can wait then. Right behind that is the election. I think somewhere in the middle here, there's some earnings coming out, William. I do not know the day. I have no idea.
It'll probably show on Yahoo. I'll try to look it up.
Right. The company is, I guess, I don't know when it comes out, but that they'll let us know about that. The CEO probably does another video, and you guys get to see what's going on at the company. The CEO's been very loud about it out there. I told you my friend works at a major brokerage firm. We're waiting for some sort of movement on that. When he tells me, I believe the company has met with them. I know the name of the firm, but I don't want the bad guys to know what the firm is. I don't want them reaching out to anybody trying to stop it. So I'm not saying anything about that. If it comes, it comes. My friend works on the trading desk. When you actually met with the firm, William, right? You met with people there without saying the name of the firm. Are they a real firm?
They're real.
So you met with these people at your
Yahoo
right?
says the earnings date is October 11th through October 15th.
Okay, so that's coming up too. So we got September, then the earnings come in October. There's things coming up. The company said they're getting closer to being in the black. CEO said that also on the
Then they'll never go back.
Right. Once they go black, they'll never go back, right? That's what they always say. So the CEO said they're getting close to being profitable. My good friend told you, he's an IR guy, he says that the real formula to get rid of the shorts is once you don't need Wall Street to fund you and you're profitable, it's game over. The short thesis is ended. And I believe this company is getting close to doing that. So it happens when it does. The company's got major contracts, major deals. Anyone on this call, I'll tell you again, especially my friends that used to work for EF Hutton, that are not as smart as everybody else, that this company, if you just look at small companies, it's very rare to have multiple billion-dollar corporations as partners. Munich Re, Pacific Life Re, AIZ, China Mobile, China Unicom, the Chinese government. These are the partners of Finger Motion. No one gets to be partners with a company like this if they're a fraud. They've all been checked out. They've been vetted by the big players. They don't want to go and sign a deal with Finger Motion. Finger Motion is a fraud, and they all get roped into a big fraud situation. So that is, to me, I've always told you, is a clear sign that this is going to be a real company because of the dealings they have with major companies. Another thing to look at is that I told you, I think it was December 31st, 2018 is when I purchased my first shares at 287. The company only just got, it was on the tape, the deal with the Chinese government to do the top-up minutes to pay for the cell phone. That's what they've had. The company's 100 times stronger and better. And the stock is 260. I paid 287 for it. So going back to the big short, Michael Burry and all those people got in, shorting the housing market, got in early. Well, I got in early here, and I've been suffering. And at the end, Michael Burry and his fund made $2.7 billion because he was right. All the things that he was right about, I believe I'm right. I believe the regulators are captured. We all know that. I believe the short's going to panic. I think the brokerage firms, like in the movie, will eventually turn, and they will start covering these people. The risk reward, as William always said to me, the risk in Finger Motion is up. That's what I think you're saying. I think tomorrow is going to be a good day. Between me and everyone here, I advise multiple people that I've spoken to. They want to buy shares tomorrow, and I, depending on who they were, I gave them the advice I believe. So I think there's going to be some nice buying tomorrow. If you do buy, my advice as a professional is do not put market orders in there. Use a limit. For example, I told multiple people, if you want to buy it, I have no idea where it's going. But if you want to buy it, use a 350 top. So let's say the stock opens at 290. You want to buy 10,000 shares, buy 10,000 shares, and you put it by a 350 top. That assures that you will get it. You won't have to pay 350. If you can get it, if they sell it to you and you get 290, you get 290. But if the stock starts running, you're trying to put an order in just a little bit above it. This way you do get filled. That's how professional people buy it. And that's what I told my friends. I have no idea where it's going to go. But I know there's plenty of buyers around. And these are people that made money in GDC looking for something that is undervalued and hasn't moved yet. The key word is hasn't moved. Finger motion has moved down. Now it's getting back to where it should be, which is benchmark that it's worth 5. We're not even there yet. And the company's had more deals since that point and has been listed on the NASDAQ and rang the bell at the NASDAQ. And the stock is still below 5. So as far as I'm concerned, the company's still undervalued, not where benchmark said it should be. When we get to 5, then you can start taking, then we can take a different approach to it. But at that point, the real short would have collapsed, the naked short should be folding, and once it starts, it's going to go past 5 like a speeding bullet at that point, just like GDC did. Any questions, William?
I'm sure there are.
Well, let's go.
Do you think they? Oh, so everything's. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Do you think they steal without fear because they know the system is about to end? Maybe.
Do they steal without fear? I don't
know. They continue to do this crime without any fear. They sell without fear. I don't think it has anything to do. They're not thinking at all. It's just always work. They'll push it till the end.
I think that what you said was true. I think it's over with, though. I think they're all standing around shitting their pants because what's going on in Canada, Andrew Left is busted, the Anson Fund. They're in the story of the Anson Fund, that's that story with the big toad on it, if anybody has not read it. These guys have offered the DOJ $50 million to lower the charges. The DOJ turned them down. They're all going to jail. They have to turn state's evidence, meaning give each other up. They're giving up brokers at Canaccord. Canaccord's a brokerage firm out of Canada, which it's been a sweet spot for naked short sellers. They've been taking a lot of those people working at that firm got rich off of taking orders from naked short sellers. They're a disgrace. They should be out of business. That's called a firm called Canaccord. All these people that have taken these orders, help these guys, they all got caught now. I don't understand how much money they wanted to steal, but they're all pigs, and like Bonnie and Clyde, they kept robbing the banks till they got caught. They all got caught now. And once one gets caught, going to jail, they're gonna start, ratting each other out. Andrew Left his house. I believe that is in the Royal Palm in Boca Raton. It's a fancy. I used to play pickleball. If I went in front of that place, I made a left and gone to a park. But I was always at that front gate. I saw that gate all the time with the guards in front of it, with the big walls. You can never get in there. But I think it's the Royal Palm down in Boca Raton off of Federal Highway. And he's selling his place for $16 million. He's liquidating assets. He's liquidating assets for a reason. He's going away. All right. These guys thought they were God, and now they're all caught. Now they're going to start squealing on each other. You know how many people called up Andrew Left? I just showed you biz.com from 2007. You know how many stocks this guy has destroyed? He didn't lose. He lost people trillions of dollars. The market cap of these companies, he destroyed companies. Destroyed shareholder value, destroyed companies. When a stock gets killed like that, CEOs, the first thing they do is they stop hiring, make people take pay cuts, and lay people off. They stop building things. Their credit goes away. You name it. It's a complete death spiral for companies. Because Andrew Left said Etsy sold a counterfeit T-shirt. Because Andrew Left said it, it's bad. Like no one ever sold a counterfeit something or counterfeit this. You look at some of these airlines, they buy counterfeit parts for their plane or counterfeit brakes for your cars, Ford, Boeing. They don't kill those companies. Etsy, they killed. Someone sold a fake t-shirt. They sold it down 50% from 130 to 60. Imagine working at that company, you wanted to sell, you've been working for Etsy for 3 years, you got 3,000 shares, you wanted to sell it so you can pay for your kids' college, you work 24 hours a day for the company, and all of a sudden your 1,000 shares instead of worth 120,000 is now worth 60. After you pay your taxes, you got to sell 2,000 shares before when you sold 1,000. That's the damage Angela caused to people. It's all fraud. Anything else on the education side, William?
Well, maybe. Let me look. No, it doesn't look like it. Somebody's asking what you think could happen. I know you don't want people buying it, but if people are trying to exit GDC, what could happen next week, this coming week?
It's a professional game now. So unless you're a professional, the game changes every 3 minutes. So it's like a hockey game. It's very hard for me to advise you on this stock. It's professional. If it runs up screaming north of 15 to 20, if you're long and you don't make a sale, you're a buffoon. If it drops and you want to buy the dip, you made some money already, buy the dip. You could, there's 50 things I can do. The stock can run to 10, drop to 5, run to 50, go back to 5. How can I advise you on that? It's all over the place. When the stock was doing nothing, that's when you have to buy it. When it was doing nothing.
And then you wait. And then the easiest, the safest trade is the first move, of course.
That's the safest trade. Now you want to gamble. Now you're in the casino. Good luck. It's hard for me to advise you on that. I told you before, the problem with everyone on this phone call, including myself, is that we do not let our winners run long enough. We hold on to our losers, but we never let the winners go far enough. The only person may be my wife's friend. I hope watch it. It'll open at 50 tomorrow, and she paid $2, whatever she paid, and she sells it at 50 by mistake because I forgot to call her up.
But you're just admitting that it's just a roll of the dice at this point.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
I have no. Listen. When they're laying flat, is when you buy them. That's the way I believe. Finger motion to me is laying flat.
So this guy's asking. I have no idea what he means, and my computer's freezing. But he's asking, do you put in a GDC or a GTC? Sorry, a GTC or a GTCX, whatever the hell. So do you put in for finger a GTC order, or do you put in GTC EXT for finger? I have no idea what that is.
I don't know what the last three symbols mean. GTC is all I know. Good till cancel.
And maybe it means extended, but
maybe extended hours. Maybe you can do it for pre-market. I don't know. Maybe your system allows it. I don't know.
My system doesn't, but
in the morning, wake up. It's going to trade pre-market.
That's what it means. It's for outside of market hours.
Right. So just if you want to do it, get up in the morning. Do it yourself. If you're leaving your house at 9 o'clock and the stock is $8 unchanged, you think it's going to explode. You put it in a good till cancel. This way, when you're driving to work, you have an order in there. Maybe you get taken out. That's the way it goes. Again, I don't know if it's going. GameStop, I was buying it at $375. The highest we sold it was $118. I didn't know how high it was going to go, but I studied now finger motion, and now not knowing that I was going to get these shorts in here like this. Now that we have them, I have all the gory details on it. It's a little different. I believe finger motion is going to be a monster play. That's my opinion. Based on what I saw in GameStop, finger motion is bigger. And they've done it just like GameStop. People go, GameStop. GameStop was $3.75. I told you before, when GameStop sold the shares to the short, the game is over. That was at $29. They kept selling it. The shorts were buying it from the company. Those poor people, what are you waiting for? That doesn't mean it can't squeeze again, but the hedge funds gave up on it already. Now the company's got to build a business, and the guy's got money. There you go. Now it's become a real stock. Good luck. And again, a $29 stock versus a $3 stock doing nothing. I'd rather be in the $3 stock than the stocks that are running up and down. Because I'm not in the business of getting wiped out anymore. I don't want to play that game.
That's right.
I don't mind losing $1, $2. I'm not losing $30. And that's what those games are set up for. I said the same thing about DJT. I said the shorts are driving it in volatility up and down, big numbers. Who wants to be, I don't want to be paying $30 for stock and it's 21, 35, 40, it's all over the place. The only way I play those stocks is with options. Do I believe they're going to panic and cover DJT? 100%. Do I know the day? No. Can I live with the stock going up and down 15 points a day? Absolutely not. I could live with a stock going from 2 to 4, 4 to 2, back and forth. I could deal with that. Because at some point, finger motion is a buy based on fundamentals.
Right.
DJT, they're building a company. Finger Motion is a mature company now. You know, it's a growth company, but it's more mature than these other companies. So I can live with that. I can't live with the other thing right now.
So I don't see any more really driving
Listen,
questions.
I posted, and I will continue to repost whatever I believe that you should have information. I posted the loophole again up on Twitter. For those who don't know, it's a market maker exemption. The head of the NASDAQ, Tom Gera, back in 2007, he reported that they were concerned in 2007 that everyone would become a market maker, hedge funds, just to get the exemption of naked shorting. That's what they've all done. So these brokerage firms are letting everyone use their market maker license to naked short. Day trading firms, they use the license to naked short. So these certain people have this license to naked short. And the brokerage firms are selling their right to their license. They're letting other people use their license. And that's what's going on. You get firms like Webbush and all these other people are doing it. And they allow these companies to naked short. That's what they're doing. And it's right there. And that's from 2006, 2007. I posted that. I put the story of The Economist. The Economist was said the regulators are rattled. That was June 2011. The regulators are rattled by all the settlement failures. All the proof is here. I put the story up from 1988, Forbes magazine. And I'll just leave it with this. Pat Byrne. The last thing he did was squeeze the shorts. Well, how did he squeeze the shorts? A special dividend. It's right there. How come it didn't work for GTI? GTI's dividend was something different. Finger Motion is issuing a warrant. It'll have its own symbol, FNGRW. It won't affect FNGR. It will affect the shorts, though, because if they're short, they're going to be short 10% more as soon as the record date comes. So if they're short 230 million, they're going to be short 10% of that. 23 million shares of the warrants they'll be short day one. Your broker has to get them the warrants because if you want to exercise it, the company needs to get the $3. Let's say it's $3 strike. So you have 1,000. Let's say you have 1,000 dividend shares, William. You have to pay the company $3, right? And you get your 1,000 shares of stock, right? So if the stock is 100 minus 3, that's your cost 3. You'll make $97. You don't want a free warrant? Everybody wants that free warrant. And the difference is it's going to be trading. And I told you before, an option or this warrant I don't know the exercise date, but I think it's 2 years. So we got 2 years to have a $3 warrant. If someone's going to try to sell it at 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents, I think I have enough people that want to buy all those because that's a free shot on the upside. It's an option for 2 years. So let's say it's a $3 warrant and we pay 30 cents for it. That means if the stock goes above $3.30, I make every penny above that because it's costing me 30 cents to buy it in the open market. How are they going to cover those warrants? This just is making the mess bigger, a bigger mess for the short sellers. Pat Byrne, he's the one that orchestrated and told you how to do a dividend, and it's right there. Dole Foods, if you want to read that story, Dole Foods had too many shares. Go read about that dividend. I put that up. Guys, I think I covered everything. I'm running out of things to say.
Yes, you are.
If you want to buy Finger Motion, that's up to you. Use a limit price. Never put a market order in. And you say, what do you mean? Well, I remember my friend Rhonda from Kentucky. We were on a trading desk, and she went to buy 10,000 shares of something at the market. And I think the stock was $11. She got an order back. Her execution was 21. Just as she put her orders to buy 10,000 at the market, the stock opened up the floodgates. It's like GDC. And the stock squeezed, but she put her order in, and she wound up paying the top of it, $21. When she got it back, the stock was already back down, and she was down $100,000 in her position. So please, when you play these crazy stocks with short squeezed in it, potential in it, use a limit order when you buy. Always use a limit, never a market order. You get ripped off. I just gave you a classic example of that. The girl went to buy 10,000 shares. She gave a market order. The stock started to squeeze, and the guy on the floor just bought it. He bought it with the instructions he had. Buy 10,000 market. Give me 10,000. Where's the market? 21. Sold. Boom. Stock collapsed. She got the order. She got her report. She was screaming, this can't be right. She lost. She was down 100,000. Put a limit. Always use a limit. My friends are going to use a limit tomorrow of $3.50. That doesn't mean the stock's going to 350. They may get it at 250. They may not even get it. The stock can open at 4. I do not know. But they're using that limit because they don't want to miss it. So instead of putting a limit at 4, they're putting a limit at 350. If the stock goes higher, they can always change it, cancel it, and pay 4. If the stock opens lower, they're going to get the stock. They don't get it at 350. They get it where the market opens up. So you got a couple of things you can do. Remember, when you're buying or selling, use limits, never a market order. Use a good till cancel. You can throw your orders out there now. There's nothing you can do out there at Sunday. If you overslept or you're driving, put an order in now. That's how you do it. That's an important thing, using a good till cancel order. Always put it out there. You can't sell the stock unless your order's out there. Remember that. And when the stock starts to trade fast, meaning up and down real fast, unless you have your order out there, you're going to miss it all the time. You can sit there, oh my God, I wanted to sell it at 8. I forgot to put the order in. Or I just put it in and it just went down. That happened to my friend Mike in Miami. He tried to sell it, I think it's some GDC, I think it's $7 or $8. $7. And the time he got his order in, the stock, he wound up selling it at 6. 6 1/4 to be exact, I think. That's how fast it moves sometimes. But if you put it out there before, good till canceled, he would have got that at 7. Anything else, William?
Yeah, I'm looking. Not really, no. Everyone, I think, thanks you very much. But it's not, it's not an overwhelming turnout. And
Well, no. Well, listen, it's Sunday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's beautiful outside. I played pickleball already. I have a dinner with my family tonight, so I wanted to get it over with. I won't be able to do it tonight. My football team lost. I'm pissed off. So there's a lot of things going on.
your football team's like top 25. It's not even top 10.
It was top 10.
It is? I didn't see that.
It was.
I don't know.
Listen, I'm upset from last year, but it's carried over. So I really don't cheer for a lot of teams, but that was it. So I'll get over it like everything else. But now I'm focused on, my stock selection. I'm focused on finger motion. We got 54 trading days after Monday to be 53. By the end of the week, we'll be below 50. Trump wins, we all win. I don't really give a shit, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, whatever the fuck you are, I don't care. It's none of my business. I care about stock settlement. Give me stock settlement. I can make money to support my family. No matter where I live, I always can make money. Without stock settlement, I have to go and do this by myself and start trading because I need to survive my family. And I'm doing it for 54 more days. Otherwise, I have to support my family and get away from this mess. I can trade. I can survive. Most people cannot do it. Remember, making 500 a day is 2,500 a week. Is 10,000 a month. I can make 500 a day easy. All right, that means going back to work. I don't really want to do it. I'd rather invest like a normal person and go do different things with my life. But if I have to go back and trade, which I will, and that's why I keep trying to teach everybody, learn how to trade. But I believe that vote for Trump, we got Pat Byrne. He told us himself. And now the bad guys have nobody on their side. Gary Gensler getting fired on day one. He's been running interference. We put him on the truck 16 times. How could you not address it? He should just come out and say, stop putting the fucking truck in front of the building. We see it. That's all he has to say. He would never even say anything. What do we have to do with him to whistleblow? What do you have to do? Tell me. They always want people to whistleblow. The only people that get paid on whistleblowing are the short sellers. They pay them all the time. We're showing them the crime. It's trillions of dollars in crimes. Not billions, trillions. William, you can become the richest man in the world getting paid for all these companies that were saving, all the money that was stolen.
They have a catchphrase. They need it. It needs to be new information. They know what's going on. They know it. They're just not doing anything about it.
So now what happens is those people are getting the boot. Our people are going to be running the show. I don't think you can, listen, there's no way that I ever thought, after fighting all these years, that I would have the next president of the United States, the vice president who hates the shorts, who hates the equity market also. We got Devin Nunes, the head of the Intel Committee, again, it's well-versed on Washington, D.C., fighting for Truth Social, okay? They're not going to let that go down. We have Pat Byrne, the #1 expert on naked short selling, who's in with the administration, that's going to get in here. We got Elon Musk, he hates the shorts, the richest man in the world. And you're telling me we're not going to win versus Jeff Easton and that fat bastard Hal Mintz? That's who we're fighting? We're going to lose to those guys? Not a prayer. And that's how I see it. All right, everyone. If you have any questions, reach now, or I'll post them on Twitter. Reach out somehow, get a question, and I'll answer it when I get a time. Other than that, I have to take a shower, go get ready for dinner this afternoon, and have fun. All right, William? No more?
Yeah, all right. Okay.
All right, have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, and then
Vegas, Nevada over Labor Day weekend. If you're going to be there, then.
Sorry, I don't know what that is. Don't know what that is. What happened to GTII? I believe that GTII was squeezing 2 Novembers ago. I think the criminals coordinated a distraction and then an attack that got that squeeze off the table. The company made one more furtive attempt by issuing a restricted share, 1 for 10. I don't remember now. It just goes on and on. I guess a year ago, a little more than a year ago. And then the CEO, a guy named David Reichman, decided not to accept, as I understand it, a rather attractive offer made to him to resign and step aside. The reason I know that, through channels, not directly, I was asked to be CEO, and I said yes, I would. That was approximately a year ago. And Reichman decided to hang on as tightly as he could. It seems like there was a Trento mining deal on the table. There certainly is a group with the Trento mine project and other projects that who were showing GTII their wares, and that was a way forward. It looks like Reichman nixed that. I don't know his reasoning, but that went by the wayside, at least temporarily. The law firm they're going to buy, they washed their hands of that. There were probably another 6 or 7 or 8 items that were tried to enforce settlement. At the end of the day, once Reichman got bored with trying to do things in favor of shareholders, it looks like what Reichman did was try to get his own delayed gratification now in GTII. GTII has been under short selling pressure from the time we heard of the story. But when the attack on the short squeeze occurred, which is approximately 2 Novembers ago, the attack and selling has been constant. We know there's a large short position in GTII because of court filings as FINRA tried to expel Alpine. Fast forward, I personally think it's all part of the rigged, captured regulators game. GTII is now in what they call the Orwellian named expert market. So there is no transparency. There is no bid and ask that you can know. It's essentially a complete wipeout. So you have a choice. Do I sell? Do I buy more? Or do I hold? I personally think that it's nearly impossible, and this is not financial advice, to give hypothetical advice. It's August. I think in your mind you have to treat GTII, the bad guys won. It's completely, the entire investment is worthless. That's how I would treat it. And in your heart, you just get on with life. Now, I wouldn't sell the stock now. You can't get a fair price. You don't know what the bid is. You don't know anything. I wouldn't sell it now, mainly because the largest shareholders are working with a gentleman who I've gotten to know. They're working with another attorney who I do not know. And then Richard Hoffman is doing a yeoman's job. He's doing the Lord's work of stepping in and fighting for all of us. And as far as I know, no one's paying his way. So we're very lucky to have him, and he gives his information quite humbly, but also quite knowledgeably. And generously. There's no arrogance in Richard Hoffman. I mean, some of his jokes, maybe you could find a bit of pride in his jokes. So one reason I wouldn't sell it is we're waiting to hear from the court what's going to happen in receivership. Now, I'm not a lawyer. To me, receivership sounds a lot like bankruptcy, but it's apparently different. But I'll give you my sense of what could happen. Anything. Bottom line, anything. Once it's in a judge's hands in bankruptcy, it's like the laws of physics in the visible world. When you go down into the nano world, the laws all change. When you go into a bankruptcy court, anything can happen. So it's not apparently in bankruptcy, it's in receivership. I'm not educated enough to tell you the difference. But GTII is waiting on a ruling from the court, which could come Monday. I bet it comes either just before or just after Labor Day. If the judge rules favorably for us, you could see a lot of the assets which were sold, the shares sold, money's taken out, come back into some sort of receivership. You could see a gentleman who is working on behalf of the largest shareholders be appointed as receiver. And then you could see things happen. Ham apparently made the introduction to a company who's ready to move into GTII, and you could possibly see the company take on, get rid of Reichman, get rid of Lou Rhubarb, get rid of everybody, and get a new team in. Now, the question is, Lou Rhubarb struck a deal where he could make $20 million if he got the stock to $2 million. Look, I called in. I said, look, I'm still willing to do it. They said, don't put your name in. So my name's not in, and I'm not trying to cause any kind of agenda here. But if I were CEO, I wouldn't be being CEO of GTII to enrich myself. That 20 million, I'd put it all in the kitty for all stakeholders, for everybody. But whatever. So you got some risks where the arrogance of guys who work at hedge funds come in and they deserve a $20 million payday because their buddies screwed the pooch. But anyway, whatever gets approved will get approved. If we're lucky, the company will have a receiver appointed who's on good terms with the whales. The whales will back forward movement. A company will come into GTII who has revenues and future prospects, and the court will allow the short position to continue to exist. And then the company can make its filings, which requires a little bit of money. It comes out of the expert market. Alpine gets expelled. The stock can start trading again. And as good news comes in, and if that short position, one, exists, and two, remains, you could get a bit of you might get a bit of upward momentum. But as I understand it, the company who could be coming in could get the stock back to whatever you paid for it and higher. But I'm not part of the equation anymore. We'll just have to wait and see. Right now it's in a legal process. So GTII, the shorts, the criminals, pulled out all guns, bribed, paid for, bought, helped at least one company, if not two companies, come in, cause a distraction, help them, They did everything they could do to avoid losing $1 billion or more. And we lost, but it's not over. But like I say, in your mind, you just got to write it off. If the court system goes the way I just described, there may be a reward still for all your time and effort. If we find out that the court, the bad guys win and they leave Lou Rhubarb in and he continues to work with the shorts, that's my opinion. I don't know for sure. We could have a bad result and it's all just talk and nothing happens. Well, in that case, rather than selling your shares toward the end of the year, you could just write them off for tax purposes. Now you have to talk to your accountant and you take your loss. You keep your shares. And if something good happens in the future, your cost basis is zero. And who knows, you've got whales working for you. But I would not trade GTII whilst it's in this. They put up a curtain while they're stabbing the corpse and chopping arms off the rest of the soldiers. They put up a screen so you don't have to see it. It's a rigged game. I wouldn't trade it. But if you do want to try to buy shares to lower your cost average and then hope for a positive, honest path forward, that's a decision you make. That for very little money, you can average down and then your break even becomes a lot lower. But the criminals won in GTII. The criminals are the regulators, Congress, journalists, anybody who aids and abets the violation of 100-year-old securities laws. In my book, they're all criminals. That's not legal advice. And not legal advice is the guy that's working pretty hard. Pretty hard, very hard. He doesn't have time to learn the elements of humor. He's so busy. Who knows? I wouldn't have been able to do it alone. The advantage that I would have had as CEO is having the whales behind me, but they can be behind somebody else. And then the only other advantage is I would, like my Chinese client often told me, you must learn 2 words. You must learn to say 2 words. N-O. N-O. I'd say, yes, Mimi. I'll remember those 2 words. But I would never do a deal with the criminals. Knowingly. There will be others that may not. It's not that I'm trying to be arrogant or anything. I'm just the only person I trust for that. I'm sure there's other good people out there. I really am. And all you have to do is listen to one of Jump Savvy's calls and you go, wow, these people are smart. It's like that old Mark Twain joke. He left home when he was 18 because he couldn't put up with how stupid his father was. He had to get out of there. He came back home at like age 21, and he said he was surprised how much his father had learned in 3 years. I'm surprised how much everyone has learned in 3 years and how honest and hardworking so many people are. There's one guy on Junk Savvy's calls. I think his name begins with a J. And I apologize to him because I can't remember, but I listened to him. The only characteristic I know about him, Junk Savvy always says, is once he starts talking, he goes on and on and on, just like she does, just like I do, I suppose. But he was describing how when he goes to Congress or talks to people on the Hill, he doesn't have any nerves because he knows he's telling the truth. He knows that he doesn't have any side deals or backdoor payoffs. He knows he's being honest. And those are the kind of people you have fighting here. And there's a lot of them. My computer's, oh, I love that puppy dog. That's a puppy dog I'd try to hug, but he wouldn't let me. I know that. He might come up. He might and ask for a hug, but he wouldn't let a hug out of the blue. So one of you guys is sending me his used computer, which is identical to mine. Actually, I think his is newer, but it's the same model. I think his is 2013. And I think if you looked here, mine is 2009. And I had to take mine in, and Apple destroyed all my photographs. I don't know, God just doesn't want me to have anything very long. That's all right. When you die, you don't have it anymore anyway. But my computer, I'm not going to look right now. My computer, 2 TCF or 2, whatever the hell, tribbles, 2 trillion, whatever. I think it has 2. His has 2. I thought it only had 1. But then the other thing that mine has is it has 4 slots for RAM, and each of them has 2 RAM. So I think I have a total of 8 RAM. His is going to have 32 RAM. And I think that'll make all the difference. I'll be able to put it here, log in, I hope, and then do things. I'm also hopeful without my computer freezing. And that'll be, maybe I can improve my product to you guys. Benjamin Pugh, what are your thoughts on GDC? Well, I tried to find because I did a video on them, and I printed out all the charts of about 20 or 30 squeezes over the last, I don't know, handful of years. I couldn't find my file. So I looked up a few, like, I don't remember, HKD, TOP, I think. There were a couple of others. And but it's very hard to tell looking back. But what I assume looking back is that the volatility in the early stages was very high. And based on that, but Benjamin, the safest profit's already been taken. And you're asking me what I think, but it's so speculative. I think Monday they're going to try to make you scared, and they're going to try to hit it, and it might open at 4 or 3. and they'll try to drive it down. Let me see if I can pick. Let me see if I can pick using a chart. Pick maybe a more accurate number than just making one up. I don't know. I see two numbers that they might try to get it down to. I don't think they're going to be able to get it that low though. The obvious number they'll try to get it down to is the 20-day moving average, which is currently at 265. They may try to get it down to where it broke out. I don't think they're going to be successful with that. The stock closed at 545 and briefly touched about 12 and a quarter. It opened at, well, what's frustrating, these charts are during the day. But I don't know how before the market trading is counted, but just let me read the chart the way I see it. I could be making a mistake. I think it opened at 9 and closed at 545. Well, a couple things, Benjamin, about the 545. It's higher than it ever closed before the day before. So my point being, they were not successful in getting, getting the stock to break down. They created volatility, but it didn't break down. They're going to try that Monday morning, in my opinion. But when you look at the volume of the stock over the last 3 days, it was basically 2.5 million. And it's my understanding, and I'm using rough numbers, I'm just getting them off of reading various Twitter posts, that there's approximately 9 million shares in the float, and there's 9 million shares in the float and over 90 million short. Now, I don't put a lot into the short numbers anymore. Why? Because when the covering begins, this is my opinion. I haven't heard it from anybody else. But when the covering begins, yes, they have to cover those shares fast and furiously. But there's nothing stopping the establishment of yet another offshore account on behalf of the criminals who can start selling the stock at $500 a share that doesn't exist. So I don't know that the so-called naked short ever gets reconciled. What does happen is that prime brokers and accounts, for lack of a better word, caught short, they buy that all in. But anyway, I really, Benjamin, don't think $12, a brief touch of $12, if this is some sort of stress situation, it'll go higher than that. And there's very few human beings involved here once it starts. So I imagine that the broker dealers buy by computer, or the prime broker, whatever, buy by computer. The sellers are selling by computer, and they'll do their best tomorrow to scare you out. They have two goals. One is that you sell at 265 or 2, if they can drive it that low. I don't personally think they can, but they might. It's going to be volatile. The other thing they want to scare you into, like right now, let's ignore what happens tomorrow. Right now it's 5:45. They want you to sell at 12 if it gets back there because you're, oh, I got another chance. So I think it's going higher. Now, could it be that 12 is all that's going to happen? Sure. I just don't know. And I don't think they know. But if in fact there's 90 million shares not extant, a majority of which need to be covered, I just think the stock's going to go high. And then looking at past charts, what's hard to tell, breaking it down by day, because the charts turn into weekly charts when you go far enough back. But what you can see in past squeezes, if this is a squeeze, and there's no guarantee it is, stocks go up, and then there's these sharp pullbacks because they're trying to hit stop loss orders. They're trying to panic people out. There's volatility. There's people put in sell orders at market, and it just gets a little out of control. So to have it pull back one day and maybe more than one day and pull back doesn't mean it's not going to still make a run higher. All right, now then, Benjamin, I took this chart and I went back 5 years, and I'll do it here. When I get a new computer, well, used, I should be able to bring these charts up very quickly to show you, I hope. Fingers crossed. But what the stock did on Friday is it basically attempted to break through a previous spike that looks like, to my, all I can do is estimate where it is. To my eyesight, maybe $15. It did break through two, if you count it as two, one if you count it as one, two $10 attempts. So it broke, in my mind, it broke through resistance at $10. It broke through pretty significant resistance in the $5-6 range. It broke through that. So what it's done, resistance now becomes support. And Ham would say none of this matters, and I'll admit to you I don't know what the F I'm talking about, but I think the computers follow this stuff a little bit. So anyway, it broke through the $5 or $6 resistance, which I see three attempts before if I ignore the biggest one in the middle. And that's kind of how I do it. Other people are much more sophisticated. So they broke through the resistance, and then a pullback makes total sense. The breakthrough through resistance got it all the way up to this $10 resistance. Call it $15. It went to 12. It's pulled back. That makes sense. It has yet to puncture significantly that $12, $15 resistance. Maybe it's $16. Other people are much smarter than I am with that, but I don't need that precision. If it breaks $16 or $17 with volume, I think the stock is going to go to 25, 26, 27, 30, 32. I can't really tell. And then it's going to 40. And frankly, 40 isn't much resistance. The next resistance is around $60. So, you know, if you want to gamble, and that's what it is, that's kind of where I see it going. I think they're going to do everything they can do to collapse the stock tomorrow. That's for those who are speculators. That might be a chance to buy some shares. But there's no guarantees to any of this. There was a rally in May of last year from $2.50 a share to $40 a share, and it looks like it took place in 1 or 2 days. And as soon as it went over 40, it pulled back, and it's never been that high again. It pulled back. It gave you a shot at getting out at $15 if you had an order in, and then it collapsed back down to $2.50. And as you know, it even got down to 62 cents. So there's no certainty to this. I will say, Benjamin, if you were to put an order out to sell, you pick your own numbers. I mean, you could pick 10, you could pick 12, 15, 20, you could pick 40. Because the previous spike, I can't tell exactly. It looks like it was 45. It might have been more. But if it doesn't go off and the worst case scenario happens, it just runs up and that's all she wrote. I think after a couple of days of being down, I think you'll get a chance to get out maybe at 10 again. So it'll be white knuckle time. Now, if instead it actually breaks out and it actually has volume, I'm talking 10 million shares in a day, and it starts trading. Why you need high frequency trading in a piece of shit stock, I have no idea. But you can ask Ann Wagner about that. Why she doesn't care. But anyway, if it breaks through this sort of 15-ish number and powers through 20 and then powers through 40 and gets up, say, to 60, I would think it would show a pause if it got that high at 60, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, if you count them that way. I do, maybe 5, 6 attempts. 60 seems to be a line of resistance. But if it were to get through 60, and this is where it's really hard for me to read because of this chart, and this move happened in 21, in the beginning of 21, it looks like it occurred over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days. Maybe more, maybe 11. It's hard to read for me. But the stock went to, I really can't tell. I guess those are 20s. So 220, 240, 260, 280, 300, 320, 340, 360. It went to 360. It went to 360. That was its high in another squeeze. But the key to all these moves in this stock, like there was one at the end of 20, it went from, I don't know, $22 all the way up to $120. It looks like in 1 day, 2 days. So the key on any of these huge moves is they don't last very long, at least in this stock, or they haven't in the past. So anyway, Benjamin, I know I've gone on a while. I think you're going to get another chance to get out at 10. And if that's the number you want, put in a GTC order. I think the stock might give you a chance to try to, you pick the number, play for 15, 20, 40, 60, or more. Go for 100 or 144 or 233, Pick a number. But I think, if the stock it's going to have big volume and it runs up and comes back, it'll come all the way back down and you're going to go, darn it, I missed it. Well, quickly change your mindset. Just say, look, I went for it. I didn't get my order off. And then over maybe 2 or 3 days, I think you'll get another chance at least to get out at $10. So you might have a free shot at a high number, and failing that, if and when it comes down rapidly, you might be able to put out a new GTC at say $10, and you can get out again. But once that happens, and I don't think it'll take very long, 2-3 days, the stock will go back down to 250. It'll probably go back down to $1. So you don't want to be in it very long. This energy is either there or not. There's no way of telling. On the good side for us, this has been a long weekend where the prime brokers are probably calling representatives of LLCs and asking for more cash or more collateral. So on the good side, I could be wrong, and it takes off Sunday night, tonight. I think they're going to try to give you the maximum fear, maximum pain. But if I had to guess, it's not over with. And as soon as I say that, I might be totally wrong. We're in the speculative phase now, Benjamin. The easy trade of getting out at 10 or getting out at 7, getting out at 5 was probably the safest. That's all over with. Now it's a question of how it's going to be volatile, but it's a question of how wide the swings are in that volatility. I don't know. I think I would pick a number. Tomorrow, I don't expect tomorrow to be good. Could be wrong, but I think they're going to take advantage of as much fear as is out there. But having said this isn't our game. It's not retail doing this. It's not, I think Barbara had 44 shares. I think it was Barbara. It's not her 44 shares. It's something else going. It's a whole different dynamic. So we're just reading tea leaves. So anyway, tomorrow, if it does pull back, my way of handling that would be, if it were me, I'd say to myself, shoot, I missed the sale. I missed the chance to sell. I woulda, coulda, shoulda sold at 10, and I could be buying back now at 4 or whatever. I missed it. Move on. And I know it's easy to say because I go through, I carry a very large woulda, coulda, shoulda in my life now. Then I would either buy more down there, or once it's down there, I would make sure I have a good to cancel order in. And you pick a number. Maybe you do some at 10, 15, 20, 40, and 60. Or you just say, I'm going to do it all at 60. Or you say, you know what? I'm going to go for it. And I like 80. Or I like 120. I don't know. You pick your number. Put it out there. Spread them out. You can go higher. I don't think it'll go higher than the previous side. And I don't think it'll go that high either, if I had to guess. It may only go to 40, 50, 60. I don't know. But you pick your numbers. I think you'll have a chance tomorrow either to buy more, at least get GTC orders in at higher numbers. And in volatility, I think those orders might be hit. And that's it. I wouldn't put any more money in the trade. Now, if those GTC orders do not work, but the stock went to, I don't know, 20 or 30. So some of your orders might. I think there'll be a bounce as it comes down in its volatility. There'll be a bounce back to the $8 or $10 range. So if you shoot for a high number and the bouncing ball doesn't get all the way up there, as it comes back down, I think it'll bounce back in the 8 to 10 range. You could put a GTC in there and get out. But Benjamin, this could go on, possibly looking at other charts for 2 weeks. Me, whatever it does by Wednesday or Thursday, I think you just have to get out. That's all my opinion. It's not financial advice, but I think if anything's going to happen that's dynamic, I hope it happens, let's say by Friday, by Thursday, by Wednesday, something like that. If we have to go into the following week, you got a 3-day weekend, I just think they'll get it under control. And they may have already gotten whatever is going on under control. But I think they're in a pickle too. So don't presume that they have the upper hand here right now. Don't presume that at all. That's a massive imbalance, 10 to 1 short versus the float. And the stock all of a sudden has gone against them. So anyway, Benjamin, I don't know if I was clear. I guess I would summarize it by saying, I hate this computer. I hate this computer. I would summarize by saying, miss the chance to get out on Friday and buy back, or just get out and buy finger or buy whatever you want. That's gone. So now I would give it 80% odds that they're going to try to drive it down on the opening and then make it look like this move to 12 is all there is. And they might be right, by the way. I don't have a magic 8-ball to tell you. But my gut tells me it's going to go higher. And so if it does pull back, that's a chance to buy. It's certainly a chance to put in your GTC orders at whatever you pick. If they trade it down tomorrow, question is what happens Tuesday? Tuesday could be volatile and not much. Just looking at other charts, it seems to take 1 or 2 or even 3 days to do this fraidy cat trading. And then it just takes off. And I don't know if that's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or we have to wait over the 3-day weekend. I would not be inclined to wait over the 3-day weekend just because the risk of a coordinated effort by multiple parties might take effect over a 3-day weekend. So anyway, Benjamin, I don't know if I felt it's going to be volatile, and I think you should get out this week. That's not financial advice. You're welcome, Benjamin. Does anyone know why it's squeezing? There's more buyers than sellers. It's a shit company. From everything I can see, it's squeezed before. Maybe they know something that hasn't been announced yet. People might just start buying it because they want to be in the next HKD. So it might be a mass psychology to own the stock, and that can overwhelm the selling programs. But there's just an imbalance of buyers versus sellers, and what you count on if you're long is that there's some buy-ins triggered at accounts that the shorts, the criminals, are just going to walk away from. They're not going to put more money in. And my contention is it's those accounts that get covered, not the full 90 million shares short. So what's ever in those accounts gets covered if it happens. And as the stock, just think of AMC and GME, as the stock goes back up, they call Mickey Cohen, they call Kenny Griffin, and he bails them out, and they do some selling, and they make it all back on the way down by violating securities laws. Marlon, I was talking about the potential of GDC, but there's no, I would not buy GDC for that reason. I really think it, as Ham said, the time to accumulate is when no one's paying attention, and you get out in that first spasm of rally. That's the safest time to get out. It might not be the biggest payback. Now it's all speculative. So, but looking at the chart, yeah, I said 60 is possible. Yeah, I said that for GDC. But I mean, it is a crapshoot. I'm not telling you to buy the stock to try to get that. Now, it'd be interesting, Marlon, if they sold the stock off in the morning tomorrow. Do you buy 100 shares that you can just take the gamble on? I mean, the stock's not going to go to zero. Could it go to the previous lows? Maybe. But it's more likely, if you buy it tomorrow, making it up, $3 and nothing happens, maybe you get out at 2 or even 150. So you gamble $1.50. In return, if it were to go to 60, you'd gamble $1.50 for whatever that is. A 53.5 point gain. I mean, that's good risk reward. But I wouldn't stick around long. It's a hit and run type trade. And if it doesn't work, don't get all upset. There'll be other trains. Just sit around the barbershop. Sooner or later, you'll get a haircut. There'll be something else to do. Well, Winged Wolf, I'd love to talk about that someday. I would call him a client and a man that I really respect. Although I'm kind of I don't think I'm on the outs with him, but I think he's been advised. Anyway, it's whatever it is. But he lives in Italy, and he was just telling me about it, and it intrigues me. My mother's Italian, which is why I'm so tall. Caruso. But she's half Italian, half Lithuanian. But Caruso, and the lore is that comes from Naples, and that the family was wealthy and related to Enrico and doctors. I don't know how much of it to believe. But so there's a family connection. But it's the food and the water I would love, because I think you live longer. Did Ham's wife put a GTC? No, it was his daughter, and she got out at, I think she sold some at 10 or something close to 10. She didn't have a lot, but a third of her position, and then bought back. So I think she's still long, but took some money off the table. Ham's wife's friend bought 3,000 shares, I think at $1.50 or $1, and Ham didn't tell her to sell. So what I heard Ham say is put it out there at 15. So I think your memory is good, Nicole. I think that's the number he suggested to her. But he's not getting overly aggressive. I mean, it's possible this is all she wrote, this little puny rally. It's possible. But I just feel like there's more to come. I don't know that one. I can look at it, but I don't know it. This computer is overloaded. MLZC. That isn't anything. I must be misreading it, not reading it correctly, but that's not a stock that comes up. I've already transferred. Excellente. Well, there's a I think it's called Advanta. I know nothing about it, but it's, I think, out of Chicago, a company who will take your retirement account or part of it, and it's truly self-directed. So you can move your next bridge, and I'll try to get that name if I remember. I think it was called Advanta. I'll try to get it. So you can move those shares into a retirement umbrella, a retirement account but it costs you money, you pay fees, and then they will apparently honestly hold your shares in safekeeping for you. That's one way. Obviously, I've got to find out the name of the company for you. The second way to do it, which is what I did, I had to sign a form. I transferred it out of my IRA into my regular account. Now, the value that I'm going to, I'm going to check with an accountant, but the value I'm going to use is 0 to move the shares out. So I don't have any tax obligation on taking that distribution. Why can I do that? The stock's not trading. There is no discernible value. It's caught up in litigation. Now, what that does, though, from the IRS's standpoint, is now my shares are in my regular account. That cost basis becomes 0. So any benefit I get from those shares has to be measured from 0, not from what I paid for. So the IRS is getting a better deal in the sense I paid $8 for those shares. I'm essentially writing it down to 0, but my write down has no tax benefit to me because it was in a tax advantaged account. But to the IRS, the new price my new cost basis is zero. So that's kind of a negative. Also, my long-term capital gains tax starts at zero. Now, that may not matter at all. My opinion, Kamala Harris is going to be our next president. There is just too much money at stake. $500 million. The media is propagandizing. Services like the one we're on are in the bag for a woman who has slightly darker skin than I do. So anyway, I think Kamala is going to be the next president. So that means that short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains under the current Biden administration proposal before Congress will both be taxed at the same rate. So it may not make a difference, long and short. But that's another negative, is it starts the long-term clock anew. But remember, I don't have to sell my shares of NextBridge, and I can collect dividends. The value can grow if the stock starts trading as a meaningful price. I can borrow against those shares. I don't have to take a tax gain once it starts trading. So anyway, a long way of saying what I would do, the simplest, is to call up your brokerage firm and say that you want to make a distribution of MMTLP out of your IRA 401k into your regular account. Well, you know, sir, there could be IRS obligations. Yes. You're going to have to sign it. Okay, yes, I'll sign it. And you're going to have to send it. Okay, I'll send it back. And they'll effect that transfer. Then you just ask for your shares, and it'll take 6 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. That's what I would do. All right, so let me just see if there's anything in the news. Look, by the way, Finger does look strong. I think it's, I don't know where the price is going to go, but Finger looks strong. Somebody asked me about logic. That's what I had to do. And he's saying, let me see, there's saying something about there's no news. Or we've been waiting a long time. I can't remember. See if I can find it. I may not be able to find it. I may not be able to find it. It was yellow. It was after that. Darn it, I can't find it. Sorry, I just can't find it. Was it under Bojangles? No. I like those orders. I like those. I'd leave those in there. And if it works, just, here it is. There was yellow, but only in the smiley face. Haven't heard anything. That's not completely true, of course. If you've been listening to me, you've been hearing things. Logic on the chart, to me, had a good day on Friday. It closed at almost 3. And if it gets a little bit higher, I think finally it starts to trade through the 200-day moving average. Maybe 4 cents is all it goes before it meets some resistance, but 3 to 4 cents is a nice percentage move. After 4 cents, 5 cents, 6 cents, 7 cents, 8 cents, 9 cents. I guess every penny will matter. But then the big number I see out there where there's a gap that basically has to be filled is it's hard to read. Somewhere around 16 or 17 cents. And if it gets that high, it could go higher. But I'd certainly think at that point you have a nice trade. You have a nice trade at any of the other numbers too. Now, the company, as you know, United Investors, announced, and I've gone over this quite a few times, but I'll pull it up to be consistent. On July 25th, Logic announced that they finalized the acquisition of MedLab Essentials for a $100 million valuation deal. It's estimate, but that's the number they used. And Logic is now diversifying into the burgeoning biotech sector. The preliminary target is 100 million, with shareholders retaining 15%. So United Investors, there's only about, I mean, it's higher than the criminals got. The criminals got the stock down, and they got the timing extended. So the company obviously raised money. I mean, their now authorized shares are 300 million, but it's the outstanding is around 277 million. But if you use 300 million, not 277, and you use 15%, you just simply run that calculation, and it's 2 billion shares. Of course, there's a reverse split coming. Now, I'll read more. This will become important to understand as I read more of the press release. The other thing is, if you use a $100 million valuation of the first deal, and we get 15% of that first deal, that's $15 million of the first deal, and that, let's just use 300 million to be, that's going to give us a low number, which I don't think is going to be very exciting. It gives us 5 cents a share if we use 300 million. So the first deal, which I'm reading to you right now, it's been announced. It's valued at 5 cents a share. Now, what the criminals want, and I'll read this to you, is it makes it clear that they're talking to 6 separate companies all simultaneously. What the criminals want is, instead of Logic issuing 2 billion shares minus our 150 million to 6 companies in total, they'd rather we issued Logic, we issued that just to the first company to buy 100 million, and then the next company to buy whatever, 250 million, then buy the next company at 300 million, so that 2 billion shares gets expanded to 3, 4, and 5. The criminals have one goal: the criminals have one goal. There's value growing up top. They want to expand the denominator so that value doesn't change, actually gets worse on a per share basis. So my point is, and it's Brent right now, he won't be the CEO very long. If he's able to get the CEOs of these 6 companies to understand that it's in their interest to work with the valuations they are giving, and that collectively they use 2 billion as the number rather than 3, 4, 5, 6 billion. The first CEO might argue, hey, I got here first, I want more. The second CEO might say, well, yeah, but my product's better. The third CEO might say, yeah, but you promised us this, but now the stock's only trading at 3 cents. And when we first started talking, it was 6 cents. If they can put all of that aside and just use arithmetic, shut their eyes to how the stock price is trading, they can keep the outstanding shares to 2 billion, which when you divide by 50, you can do the arithmetic. It'll be a much smaller outstanding number. Then you can really have high per share valuations. But let me read the rest of this to you, United. The preliminary target valuation of MedLab is 100 million, with Logic shareholders, and I am one, poised to retain 15%. They're going to uplist the stock to NASDAQ, CBOE, or NYSE. I hope to Hades they stay away from Adina Friedman's joke of an exchange. I hope they get on the NYSE. But we don't know. That's out of our hands. They're also going to complete a substantial capital raise by the end of this year. That involves risk. Do they do it with Jeff Easton, or do they do it with a group of wealthy investors? I can't control that. Okay, so here's the exciting part. Biotech portfolio expansion. This acquisition represents the first in a series of acquisitions targeting a cumulative value exceeding 750 million. Well, now, if they can stay with the arithmetic of 2 billion shares and the value is 750 million, and we have 15%. We'll have, for our 15%, 112 million out of the gate if they can keep this tight. And it's in their best interest to do that. Keep it tight. But that's going to be salesmanship on Brent's part. And people don't, they have to fight their human instinct. Well, the stock's only, so that, but if they just use arithmetic, they close these deals all at basically the same time, the 15% of 750 million is 112 million. If you further divide that by 300 million shares, which is, they're at 277, but let's use 300 million. That gives 37.5 cents per share. Now, if you're doing a trade, there could be a minor short squeeze, and the stock could go to 50 cents, 75 cents, a dollar. But another way to look at it is risk this outcome, and maybe pick 50%. So use 1875, and you know what? 1875 lines up with the gap on the chart at 15, 16, 17. So maybe just get out at 1750 or 16 and call it a trade. Call it a nice trade from 2 cents. But let me finish this. So this acquisition represents the first in a series of acquisitions targeting a cumulative value exceeding 750 million, focusing on biotech and cell and gene therapy assets, CGT. Logic will acquire MedLab through a share exchange using newly issued shares of Logic. Now, do you see my point? If this is the only thing they buy, they issue 2 billion shares. When they acquire somebody else, they're going to have to issue another billion shares or 3 billion shares. If Brent can do all of this simultaneously, it's in the best interest of everyone. So anyway, MedLab will integrate as a wholly owned subsidiary of Logic, with key MedLab executives joining the senior management team. Upon closing of the transaction, Mr. Sun will step down as CEO. As the transactions proceed, the management and board of directors will be restructured to reflect expertise and focus on cell therapy. Now, the key is, I hope this manager continues to listen to people like Brent, not people like Philip Vallier. Because they won't know, there'll be 15-year-old girls showing up in Hollywood trusting all the men. They'll just be ripe for the picking. Brent says the successful acquisition of MedLab marks a transformative milestone for Logic, propelling Logic into the lucrative biotech domain. This strategic move enables us to develop groundbreaking treatments for serious illnesses with access to proprietary laboratory technology, generating new ways to treat patients and enabling the customization of cell and gene therapy for longevity, anti-aging, and life extension. This merger, etc. Then Daniel Vinocure, says the manager of MedLab. This merger marks a pivotal new chapter for MedLab. Aligning with logic grants us access to the capital markets. Now, this is the risk. If this guy gets sucked up, this is a young 16-year-old girl showing up in New York City. If she walks in to a smooth-talking pimp's bar with the the big cars and the nice rooms and the new clothes and the little bit of drugs and promises, she could suddenly find herself as the poor little strung out girl that's a prostitute, and New York has taken advantage of her. If, on the other hand, Daniel Vinegar can listen to Brent and others, I'll put myself out there, and they only deal with honest actors, she might get a mentorship that allows her to go to the New York School of Arts and learn a trade and become Barbara Streisand. Rather than being abused by men, she could become their ideal. She could become idolized by men. So that's the risk here. Does the new management get seduced by criminals, or do they follow the harder path that takes a little more work in the early stages, but then becomes easy? Then it becomes and then you're away from, you're driving by the gangster leans and the haunts of drugs and prostitution. You drive on your way up to uptown. It's just a little extra work, little extra time to do it the right way. So anyway, that is a risk here. That's why maybe a trade is better than staying in long term. But anyway, grants us access to capital markets, essential for delivering therapies, R&D, commercialization, embark, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's going to be a capital raise. I've already told you the rest. They have uplisting goals. If they go on Adina Friedman's NASDAQ, they'll be slaughtered. She's useless. She is useless. But if they go on the NYSE, that might be better. What really is critical is that they don't get under the auspices of a pimp, but they actually get under the auspices of an honest man. In my example, it's a man who guides with care and affection, arm's length affection, kiss on the top of the head affection, guides this company into its own independence with legitimate financing. So if they get on the NYSE by the first quarter, that could be great. Now, here's the key, United. Additional accretive. This is an annoying word, but it's the alternative. It's the synonym to dilutive. It's basically a BS word, so you can say you went to MBA school. But the concept is the acquisition that you make adds to shareholder value by adding to revenue, adding to cash flows, adding to earnings, adding to projected value, even though you're issuing more shares. The word is accretive. So they're targeting 6 additional strategic acquisitions who are in process now. This was written a month ago, and will provide a path to significant revenues by mid-2025. Haven't heard anything about their deal or earnings. Well, it's in a press release of July 25th, and it's as plain as the nose on my face. It's not quite as large as the nose on my face. So the initial valuation is 100, and I've read all that. It's a new direction for Logic, founded in 2004 as a technology company. Now it's becoming biotech and everything that means. The mission will be to discover, manage, and support companies who share a vision of advancing health through cutting-edge technology and research. And this will include drug development, medical devices, remote monitoring, rare diseases, strategic partnerships, sales and marketing support, and human resources development. They want to focus on longevity treatments, cell and gene therapy, strategic partnership, and even equity stakes. They'll collaborate on research, they'll share technological resources, and as already said, they may acquire stakes. And so that, United Investors, is a press release issued by Logic on Thursday, July 25th, 2024, and today is Sunday, August 25th. My understanding is, and it's in here, maybe I didn't read it, but I've read it before to you, the Medtronic, or whatever I just said it was, deal is definitive. It's binding. It's done. The other 6 are in various stages of LOI. It behooves Brent's son, and it behooves all CEOs, in my opinion, to get this all done at once within approximately 2 billion shares, rather than dragging it out, because before you know it, it could be 10 billion shares. So to get the biggest bang for the buck, I think all of these CEOs are working under Brent. If you look at the finances Logic has, it takes a little effort. You have to go on Egner, you have to look at their last earnings. But they have enough money to get through this third quarter and make that report available. Remember, United, the reason these companies are coming in is because it's a clean reporting shell. If they go past the third quarter, basically past September, they'll have to do filings again. So I think there's a lot of incentive to get these 6 LOIs into binding state, agree the number of shares, and hopefully the agreement isn't beyond 2 billion. 37.5 cents a share using full dilution. If you use, I mean, this is a lot of the work you could do yourself, OTC. But if you go to the over-the-counter markets and you use Logic, and use their information, their information isn't always as accurate, but they say there's 279,447,000 shares outstanding. So let's use 280 million and see if it really changes that number. It makes it 40 cents a share. So it's not a big change. All right, United, I'm going to move on. Ready for news on MMTLP. Christian, the number one thing you should be focused on rather than news is moving your MMTLP into Nextbridge. That's my opinion. Secondly, I think they've been very steady in getting their filings done. And you know that Nextbridge has to drill 5 wells on the Oro Grande prospect to hold it. They have to drill those wells and complete the wells by December 31st to hold the leases. I think as a further goal, they've already announced they have 5 reservoirs, and I guess they called it discovered, at least as it related to 1 or 2 of them. If they have the money, my guess is they want to drill those wells into those reservoirs and spend money on these 5 wells, get the science involved. They have the seismic, they have the science from the wells they've already drilled. So that they need money for that. Nextbridge also owns leases on 134,000 contiguous acres in this Oro Grande play, as they've called it, or somebody called it. Those leases expire at the end of the year. Now, they have in their terms the right to extend those leases. My memory is $35 a share, but I could be wrong. So they're going to need money to renew their leases for 4 years or 5 years. They also, depending on what the knowledge that only they have, they may want to acquire additional leases. They may want to do it just in case, just to confuse, but they may just basically want to acquire additional leases because that's where they think the oil is and know where the oil is. So they need money for 3 things: to drill and complete 5 wells by the end of the year, to renew the leases by the end of the year, and possibly expand the leases. Obviously, included in those numbers or extra is just the general overhead of paying for everything. So I don't think you're going to see any news on MMTLP, Christian. I don't know what you hope to see. What I expect is the next time you hear something meaningful, it will be a financing through the auspices of Roth Capital. And I expect that to be done in September, because you've only then got October, November, December to drill these wells. And I think they're going to raise money at a low price per share. For me, I'm not going to like the price they raise money at. Nobody knows what it is, and probably some of the shorts will cover. But that's the next time you'll hear news from Nextbridge. From Nextbridge. There's no company called MMTLP. There's no management at MMTLP. There's no asset owned by MMTLP. So just get the heck out of MMTLP and go to the real asset. But I don't know any of this for sure. But to me, it's pretty obvious that Nextbridge is in a underwriting period with Roth Capital, which means there is going to be no news until they raise this capital. It's a quiet period. They have to keep their mouth shut. I would expect you're going to hear in September We raised $30 million. I'm making it up. 40 million, 25 million, whatever the number is. And we did it at $5, $10, $20, $25. I don't know what the price per share will be, but that'll be determined by the investment bankers. Then you'll start hearing news, Christian. So I would steel yourself for a disappointment at the price per share they raised the money. But then if you can get beyond that, get ready for good news in drilling. Now you're going to say they don't find anything, they never announce it, there's no cash flow. Well, remember, Christian, in Texas, if you start producing a well, everybody has the information. So they're handling this like a tight hole. They don't want everybody to have the information because they need to renegotiate the lease extensions and they need to acquire more leases. So it makes perfect sense. But you're going to go, well, they're not putting out, it must be a disaster, I can't wait. Well, get used to it. You're in a private company. You have no choice. You have to wait. In terms of MMTLP having a settlement, zero chance. Zero chance of MMTLP somehow giving you money in a settlement this year, in my opinion. We're already in September. You have an election coming, zero chance. So what you need to focus on is moving your MMTLP to NextBridge. That should be your goal, and then put it out of your mind. Now, the good news is NextBridge has done all their filings. It's clear they're going to raise money, although I don't know it for sure. And they're going to drill these 5 wells. They're going to gain more data. They're going to gain more scientific information. And they're going to have 4 or 5 years of the leases and maybe new leases. To me, as an oil man, it's grande. It is grande. Maximus. Grande Maximus. Blue skies from here on out. But you're going to have to wait. And that's going to frustrate you as a part of the generation of instant gratification. But I think in the case of NextBridge, you're going to be well rewarded, or could be well rewarded. All right, I'm going to move on from that. I don't know where that is. Christian, I'll go to the bottom. All right, so not a lot of new comments, so I guess no one really cared. I guess no one really cared about that. And I may sign off then because no one cares. Let me just see if there's any breaking news of any kind. Something's happening in the Middle East with Israel and Hezbollah, but we'll let that play out before we assume anything. I don't see any real news there. Let's see if anything's going on with Novak because he might pull out. No? Oh. Carlos Alcaraz is a 2-1 favorite to win the U.S. Open. Oh, well. All right. I don't see any news. Really, Bill? I dated this lovely Scotswoman, and we went out to dinner once, and she asked me to marry her. She ended up marrying somebody else. But she said, really, Bill, I do care. Which I found somewhat short of, let's get married because I love you. Really, Bill, I do care. All right, I'm going to sign off because I don't really know what else to talk about. And we've been on for a while. We will talk tomorrow. I'm kind of excited to see if there's more in GDC. I knew I should have bought calls, should have, would have, could have, should have bought calls on Finger. But I mentioned them all to you guys at 5 cents, 10 cents. And had you bought some, tomorrow might be a chance to lighten up, sell them, and roll out, take money off the table and roll out to a higher strike price. And then what else? I don't know what else to say. So I'm going to wish everybody peace, love, and happiness. And I pray for the children in the Middle East. And we'll see you tomorrow.